All right, we got the rock problem from Beige Frequency.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is one of the most well-known and influential people in modern media. He was a successful and influential professional wrestler who went on to become one of the biggest movie stars of the last 20 years. He's also an enormously popular influencer on social media.
Holy shit. Bro, it's almost like 400 million? I didn't even know it went up that high. Fuck. Is there anybody with like a billion followers? That's crazy.
With nearly 400 million followers on Instagram alone. And if he were to run for president, polls show that nearly half of Americans would consider voting for him.
Yeah.
In short, Johnson is a ubiquitous figure in pop culture who is almost impossible to avoid. But there is a question about The Rock that simply can't be ignored. For years, rumors and speculation have swirled around him, and many people believe that at his age, his physique cannot be achieved or maintained naturally. With his brand
Ooh, The Rock ain't natty.
increasingly being tied to his physique and his physique continuing to push boundaries year after year, the speculation only grows, and it shows no sign of stopping anytime soon. Before we delve too deeply into the rumors and speculation about Johnson, I think it's worth briefly going over how his physique has changed over the years, because it's rather interesting. If you look back to the time before his professional wrestling career when he was attempting to
That's a thick boy right there. Look at the quads on that boy.
be a football player, you can see that he was a relatively big guy. It's not entirely surprising when you look at his father and his maternal grandfather, who were both large gentlemen. Johnson clearly has good genetics for size and athleticism. When he took up pro wrestling, he seemed to lose a little bit of the size, though. He also looked softer than he would in later years. Over the next half a decade or so, Johnson slowly and progressively...
Bro, this is like the golden age of The Rock. This is when I was hardcore into like the WWE, WWF. Oh, man. Bro, that belt buckle is huge. God dang. Like, all of this. I remember watching The Rock and Stone Cold all the time. Those were my two favorite wrestlers. And it was like, Stone Cold was like perceived to be like the bad guy, and The Rock was the good guy. But Steve Austin was never like the 100% bad guy. He was like the anti-hero, more or less. But was it the most electrifying man in sports entertainment? Jeez. Oh man. Yeah, I loved watching this shit when I was a little kid.
leaned out, to the point that by the early 2000s he had some abs, as well as relatively noticeable definition in his shoulders and chest. 2001 was a particularly important year, because this was the year that Dwayne would make his big screen debut as the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns. It was a pretty minor role.
Oh yeah, this was not the greatest thing in movie history. This is like arguably the worst CGI, or some of the worst, I'll say, in CGI movie history.
He's mostly just a giant...
Bro, when I saw this, did I see it in theaters? I don't think I did. I think I saw it like on TV. I was like, oh, The Rock's coming out. And then I see this big CGI like scorpion body. I'm like, I was just taken aback. Like, what the fuck is this?
CGI man-scorpion monster, but it was soon followed by a role as the main character in a full-length movie about the Scorpion King. His physique didn't change much for this role, but if anything, I'd argue he put on a little weight and got a little less lean. Where this gets interesting is the next 5 years or so. You can actually see Johnson get progressively smaller, and not just getting leaner or more shredded. He's clearly losing mass. This downsizing is the most notable by around 2006 or 2007.
He's hopping off the gear.
Specifically in the movie The Game Plan. Dwayne looks considerably smaller in this role. In particular, he
looks like a normal guy. It just works out a little bit. That's crazy.
Neck and traps seem to be much reduced in comparison to what they looked like before, but especially when compared to the Ninja Turtle-like traps.
Yeah, he is a muscle meatball. Like here. He's just chilling. The muscle meatball.
He has these days, which must make it extremely difficult to find shirts that fit. His entire face also seems thinner, to the degree that if you do a side-by-side comparison with recent
Bro, look at this picture with like his like long hair. God dang.
pictures of him, he looks almost unrecognizable. Looking at The Rock from the 2006 to 2007 era, I could be convinced that he's natural. He doesn't look abnormally large here.
Mhm.
He kind of just looks like a guy in his 30s with good genetics who
Yeah.
lifts regularly. And I have a theory for why. During this period of time, and basically up until 2010, Johnson wasn't taking many action roles. He was only in 3 action movies, The Rundown, Walking Tall, and Doom. Most of his roles were either dramas or comedies, and I wonder if he downsized to appear less intimidating for said roles.
Ooh,
Johnson more or
probably.
less confirmed this in later years, saying that when he got into Hollywood, he was told that he was too big and that he wouldn't make it if he kept his pro wrestling physique and persona. It's important to note that by this
Bro, that's kind of crazy that that's how Hollywood works. That you have to maintain this like sort of a public image / character of like you can't be this big and work out and like really like working out, and because you'll just get typecast as like the big muscle guy. Like that's crazy that that's how Hollywood works.
This time, Johnson was already in his mid-30s, which is the point at which you've already hit your physical prime and things like testosterone levels begin to decline. But this is where it gets even more...
Oh God, that's me. I'm mid-30s. It's only downhill from here. Fuck.
Interesting, because as the late 2000s came and went, Dwayne started getting bigger again. So that by 2010 and 2011, he was arguably bigger than he had ever been up to that point. To lend further support to my theory about why Johnson downsized in the mid-2000s, his subsequent growth coincided with an increased number of roles in action movies, particularly joining the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, dude, the Fast and the Furious
in the mid-2000s, his subsequent growth coincided with an increased number of roles in action movies, particularly...
Yeah, when I saw him in the first time in the Fast and Furious series, I was like, holy arms. He is massive. Like, he's got this, like, bulletproof vest, got his little radio, he has goatee going. Like, dang, this guy's a badass.
Joining the Fast and Furious franchise. This trend culminated in 2013 with the Michael Bay movie Pain and Gain, where Dwayne played a fictionalized version of famous bodybuilder Leonard Person.
Bro, this guy was supposed to be The Rock's character? Or this is the character The Rock portrayed? Bro, I had no idea. I have been bumming around like YouTube fitness for so long, and I've seen this dude pop up. He's like the one where he's like the one clip where he's just like he eats an egg, and he's like the camera guy's Lenny, what'd you just eat? He's like nothing, with an egg in his mouth, and he just eats it. And then he goes and tells himself that he's like the Tom Platz of he has the Tom Platz of abs. I had no idea that this is the guy that was supposed to be the character that Rock portrayed. That's crazy.
Big Lenny. Kidding aside, Johnson put on a significant amount of size for this role. Some of this is likely what is referred to as fluff, as he was lacking some definition. But just in terms of sheer size, I think this is the biggest he's ever been. And especially pronounced are his chest, shoulders, traps, and neck. Just compare his neck in these images to the shots from the game plan.
Oh yeah, that's night and day. He's got like, he looks like a normal person here, but in the other one,
it's night and day, and it's important
like
to remember that he
muscle
did
meatball
this after 40 years old. More importantly, I think this was the moment when people started to notice Johnson's transformation. I remember back in the day, these pictures went a bit viral, and people were talking about just how big The Rock had become. In my opinion, this is also the point where Johnson's physique starts to become the focal point of his career. Following Pain and Gain, he would star in Hercules, where he spent most of the movie either shirtless or wearing something without sleeves.
I remember seeing this movie, but I only saw this movie once, and I don't remember really liking it. For whatever reason, I just have never seen it again. It was just how it wasn't The Rock. It was, it was like the whole premise of the movie. I mean, shit, I don't even remember it anymore, to be honest. It was just like big muscle guy does things.
The lion's share, pun intended, of his roles since the mid-2010s have been action movies where he plays Muscular guy who does something.
Yeah.
Muscular guy who chases Vin Diesel. Muscular guy who flies a helicopter. Muscular guy who trains a giant albino gorilla. Muscular guy with a prosthetic leg, etc. This has created a bit of a sticky situation, though. Unlike other actors who beef up for a role, Johnson
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, everybody else has to, like, beef up, and then The Rock is just simply, yeah, I just maintain.
can't just drop the weight afterwards. Since he is kind of just playing The Rock in most movies, and a major facet of The Rock is being jacked, he basically has to be like this full time.
Bro, that's crazy to think. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that one Netflix documentary with, like, Jim Carrey and him taking on the role of, like, was it Andy Warhol? And how whenever he was doing that movie, he was, like, method acting, and at every single moment, he's like, he is Andy Warhol. So only refer to him as Andy Warhol. Don't refer to him as Jim Carrey. And it's like for like the time that he was playing, and maybe like a year or two after, or however long it was, like the character was just like so consuming, and it's like he just believed that he was the character the whole time. Is this the case of like the character taking over, like more than just like it's like Dwayne Johnson is more The Rock than just Dwayne? That's crazy if that's it. I mean, I doubt it.
He has
Maybe.
to maintain this physique, if not improve it. As he gets older, this becomes increasingly hard to believe, especially because he seems to be pushing his physique even further in recent years.
Yeah.
It gets even...
Yeah, bro. In Black Adam, this dude was like the Michelin Man of muscles. He was just juiced.
more outlandish when you hear Johnson say that he's prioritizing longevity.
My priority is longevity.
I don't think
so. I really don't think so. You know who is prioritizing longevity? That one like millionaire bro. Who is he? Brian Johnson. That dude is prioritizing longevity. And it's kind of funny. His last name is Johnson, and meanwhile we have like, these are like polar opposites of like what your priorities are. It's like, I mean, yeah, The Rock is like kind of, he's like middle aged more or less, like 40. No, it's not 40. He's like what, 50 something, like late 40s, early 50s, mid 50s, or something like that. I don't remember. But he's like muscles everywhere. Says he prioritizes longevity. But like, I look at this like Brian Johnson character, and yeah, he works out and he's pretty healthy and does all this other extra shit with like lights and other stuff. And I look at his body and it looks nothing like this. Like massive differences, dude.
I think anyone with any understanding of health.
Yeah, what? In this one, 277 pounds of mean and nasty. And this was when he was taking on the Black Adam role. Yeah, this is not prioritizing longevity. This is prioritizing the next movie role. That's all it is.
Or medicine would tell you that being nearly 280 pounds ripped would be good for your long-term health. The amount of mass is simply...
like, you would think that having like a bunch of muscle is like quote-unquote healthy, but the more muscle you have, the further away from homeostasis your body is. Like, your body doesn't like being, like, doesn't like having all that muscle on yourself. It's just crazy. I actually wonder if The Rock has to sleep with like a CPAP. He probably does. So, you know, it's like, because it's like, I don't know, there's too much meat in his mouth from like having his tongue is too big, or like all like just all the mouth stuff and tissue and whatnot. Like if he like leans his head back and falls asleep, probably like start snoring and possibly choking to death and all that shit. It's like, yeah, you'd probably have to sleep with a CPAP.
Taxing on your entire body. If Johnson was prioritizing his health and longevity, he'd probably downsize back to his more svelte physique of the mid-2000s, rather than trying to get bigger and more ripped.
Yes, but that smaller physique isn't on brand of The Rock.
This is where we get into the myth building of The Rock's persona, and it starts with his diet.
You haven't had candy since 1989.
That's a lie. That's like a stupid fact. It's not even a fact. That's a bald-faced lie. I just had like a couple Hershey's Kisses right before I like came in here. All right, a couple candies isn't gonna make or break the bank by any means. Maybe if you're like allergic, but yeah, sure. But like to just cut out like candy like from your diet. I mean, it's not the like it's a step in the right direction, but like a couple pieces of candy here and there isn't going to break the bank in terms of like longevity of health.
Dwayne is so funny. He calls himself Rock Jemima in the kitchen.
Because when you talk about The Rock, his seemingly superhuman diet and workout regime is always at the forefront of the discussion. What?
I mean, yeah, because I mean, when you first see someone, you see like you have like this first impression type of deal, and then what's your first impression of The Rock when you see him? Oh, this guy's tall and jacked. Okay, we can talk and bullshit about like working out. Yeah, sure, a good conversation starter.
What The Rock eats, or at least what he says he eats, has stayed pretty consistent for about 10 years now.
My diet has honestly pretty much remained the same for the past 5 to 10 years.
When he was promoting Hercules back in 2014, he described what he somewhat jokingly called the 12 labors diet. As he detailed on Twitter, this meal plan consists of 7 meals.
Okay, 7 meals, that's a lot. Probably eating every 2 hours, so that's about 14 hours worth of meals. So eating a lot of meals is just really annoying. I am like a casual like fitness bro. I am very casual. But there was a time when I was like eating like 5 or 6 meals and trying to do something like this, but I don't know. It like eating more meals than like beyond like 4 or 5 is just like anything beyond like 3 and a couple snacks is like it starts to get increasingly more annoying. But I mean, if you're like made of money and you got like cooks and chefs, I mean, I doubt like he's actually. I think the question was like, this is what he says he does versus what he actually eats, because this is like the like PR friendly version of like a healthy diet, quote unquote. Yeah, and it's like whenever but conversely, whenever you're trying to like get big, you can literally just take like your favorite, or not necessarily your favorite, but it's just like some foods that you can tolerate. All you need to do is just eat more of it. Like take your favorite carb. It'll be like it can be like rice or potato or oats. Your favorite meat. It can be like ground beef, chicken, ground chicken, turkey, some fish, some seafood or whatever. And for fats, you have like some oils or some avocados or whatever else. And to get bigger, you just simply eat those. Same thing with like fruits and vegetables. Just eat all of those, but just more of them. That's all you really do. If you want to like downsize, just eat the same thing and just eat less of it. But who knows like what he's actually eating? I mean, I don't really care.
Meal 1, a 10-ounce filet with 4 egg whites and 5 ounces of oatmeal or cream of wheat, measured dry. Meal 2, 8 ounces of chicken, 2 cups of white rice, 1 cup of broccoli. Meal 3, 8 ounces of halibut, 2 cups of white rice, 1 cup of asparagus. Meal 4, 8 ounces of chicken, a 12-ounce baked potato, and a cup of broccoli. Meal number 5, 8 ounces of halibut, 1.5 cups of white rice, and 1 cup of asparagus. Meal number 6, an 8-ounce filet, 9-ounce baked potato with salad. And meal number 7, 30 grams of casein protein and 10 egg whites scrambled with onions, peppers, and mushrooms. It's hard to tell how serious this diet actually was because...
I mean, that sounds like a PR-friendly version of like a movie star bodybuilder type of diet.
He also included 1 cup of fresh Nemean lion blood. Who does this...
What? A lion blood? Bro, that's some Charlie Sheen shit right there. With the tiger blood bullshit. What? This guy was Liver King before Liver King was Liver King.
This guy think he is Liver King? Actually, now that I think about it, what is it with guys with the last name Johnson? There's also that translucent billionaire who's trading blood with his children.
Yeah.
That's a subject for another video.
Oh,
Over the
yeah.
last decade, Johnson has wavered very little when describing his eating habits, except for changing
That was that Brian Johnson. The Liver King Brian is also named Brian Johnson, but it's all weird. A weird coincidence.
his fish up from halibut or cod to salmon for some nebulous health reason.
Just recently transitioned my cod meals of the day to salmon, which I hate, by the way. I hate salmon, but it's a great fish in terms of your health and fitness.
As well as eating buffalo instead of steak sometimes. Maybe he includes some blueberries or whatever.
Yeah,
but the
who cares?
general outline is the same. 6 to 7 meals,
I do eat 5 to 6, sometimes 7 meals a day.
a protein, a carb, and some kind of veggie most of the time.
Yeah.
10 ounces of bison, a cup and a half of white rice again. With some greens, I'll have a salad.
Or maybe even a sweet potato sometimes, usually a protein, and that one is usually chicken. Like a rice, as well as chicken breast. I'll have some greens.
If you're
Not gonna lie, I mean, yes, that little 7-meal doodad that he showed before was like kind of varying, but like you eat that shit every day, that shit gets old real quick. Like, just give me some traditional like chicken wings from like Beefs or something, or like some ribs from Chili's or something.
you're at all familiar with movie star diets, you'll recognize this as a slightly more diverse version of the chicken,
Broccoli, rice.
broccoli, and rice diet that so many celebrities claim to use when they need to bulk up.
Brown rice, grilled chicken, broccoli.
Yeah, this is a huge meme. I know exactly what he's talking about. Chicken, broccoli, rice. Yeah, sure, buddy. Okay.
Chicken, fish, steak, steamed vegetable, and occasionally some brown rice. It was about 9 months of chicken breast and broccoli and training.
I would eat at least 2 rotisserie chickens a day myself.
It's similarly hard to believe for a number of reasons. The first is the one
Yeah, that diet just seemed like a little more varying than normal. Chicken, broccoli, rice. Whoever made that diet was probably watched all of those shits and probably like deep into like the YouTube fitness thing and like what everybody thinks about Dwayne Johnson, and it's like, oh, I can't say chicken, broccoli, and rice. I gotta figure out some other shit to put in there.
that should be the most obvious to anyone. Dwayne Johnson is worth like $1 billion.
Yeah.
He has a personal chef.
Shit, he can be on Shark Tank, dude. He can be like a sizable shark on Shark Tank.
And a nutritionist who work with his strength and conditioning coach.
There's a handful of chefs who I work with, and I have one advisory chef who speaks to them.
Johnson can afford to have thousands of pounds of his personal gym equipment shipped to wherever he's filming. He's not a regular person who has to think about what he's going to eat 7 times a day. It's delegated to other people. He doesn't need to be eating like a bro science lifter on a budget.
Yeah, that's
Could,
me.
and let's be honest, probably is eating a way more diverse and delicious diet than something Jason Genova could make in the microwave. There are zero logical or logistical reasons for him to be eating basically the same 3 meals every day of his life, except for his supposedly epic cheat days. The second problem is that it just doesn't make sense. And I'm not the first person to point this out either, but in recent years, The Rock has claimed to eat about 6,000 calories a day.
It's probably somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 calories a day. That anywhere between 6 to, well, I would say possible, almost 8,000 calories a day.
I mean, that kind of seems in line with like, or at least about, what do you call it? Because like I'll listen to these like Ronnie Coleman like rants or whatever whenever he's just talking to whoever, and the person's like asking him, "Oh, how many calories you eating a day?" or "What were you eating like this and that?" And it's like, you know, Ronnie was always telling him like, "Yeah, I was eating about 6, 7, 8,000 calories a day or something like that, whatever it was." And this just falls in the same vein of doing that. And Ronnie Coleman was a gigantic, like massive like person, but I mean Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not like no Ronnie Coleman, but he is like a very large muscular individual, so I mean it would stand to reason that like 6, 7,000, 8,000 calories a day is like, it kind of seems it seems like logical, but bro, I couldn't imagine eating like 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day in and day out. That
That doesn't add up. Like, literally. Just
Really?
stop and think about it for a second. If he's eating 6,000 calories a day and eating 6 to 7 meals per day, each meal would have to be pushing 1,000 calories.
Oh.
And if you just...
Oh, are we about to do the math for just off of this shit? So from some light Googling and napkin math, I would say this is more reasonable, 4,500 calories, give or take a bit.
look at something like his Hercules diet plan.
Ooh. Ooh. Yep, there it is. He's like, yeah. But I was gonna say, like, can someone just do like some quick, like, look up like how much 10 ounces of this and that bullshit is, and just figure out like about this? But him claiming to have anything more than this, like, I think it's okay for him to say to like maybe lean on like 5,000, but when he says like 6 or 7, it's like, okay, did you really?
It just doesn't approach those numbers.
It's a carb, either rice or a sweet potato, and some chicken. You think that's also going to be over 1,000 calories? A bit of rice and some chicken? Doesn't sound like he's well on his way to 6,000 to 8,000 calories now, does it?
Yeah, you would need to eat, if you want to keep like all of that like food volume, you would have to add in like way more fats.
Put things into perspective, 6,000 calories is as much, if not more, food than Mr. Olympia winning mass monsters like Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman were eating while bulking.
I'd buy a whole cow at a time. I was eating probably four
God
pounds of meat a day.
That's kind of hilarious that Jay would be like, I would buy a whole cow at a time. Because that move right there of buying a whole cow, that's like buy in bulk, save more. So I don't know. I just find that funny.
But I'd buy 150 pounds of chicken at a time. I'd buy 30 dozen eggs. So I'd buy a whole case.
30 dozen? 30 times 12? Holy shit.
Of eggs.
I don't look forward to eat anything. If you ask me what my favorite food is, I don't have a favorite food. I don't like to eat anything. There's nothing specific that I like.
The Rock isn't bulking, though, which we know because...
No, he's just maintaining, more or less.
Because his trainer has said that he can't put on the extra fat due to his demanding acting schedule. So where are all of those extra calories going? And to be fair, he's not the only one to make these claims. Early last year, Hugh Jackman said that he was eating around 5,000 calories per day to bulk up to play Wolverine again in Deadpool 3.
I complain about it all day long. I'm in this thing right now where I'm eating 5,000 calories a day. I'm just loading, eating.
Then a month later, he tweeted out his meals for the day that allegedly totaled over 8,000 calories. If you want to believe that. I'm not going to break out the compilation.
It's like, I don't know, it kind of seems like with a lot of the actors, whenever you're trying to figure out and like tamp down, bro, these actors aren't like calorie counting their own food. They're having like other people do this shit for them. Dude, that's all that's happening. The actors don't know how many calories. They're just eating whatever is put in front of them, is what it seems. Like, the people that know how many calories they're eating are like the competitive bodybuilder dudes. Because they're the ones having to go out and buy it. They don't have like chefs on chefs to like make their food for them.
But over the years, we've heard so many actors discuss the supposedly enormous amounts of food they need to eat and the drastic lengths they need to go to consume it, such as blending up meat smoothies like they're fucking Marcus Rule or something.
the Thunfish, what do you call it? The Thunfish shake.
So I would just put it into a blender, blend it all up, and just drink chicken. Isn't that gross?
Yeah, that is pretty gross.
It makes you ask the question, why? I think there are a few reasons.
I mean, for someone to try to do like the whole blending of protein thing, I don't know. It just seems like ridiculous. Like, you get tired of eating, more or less. It's like you lose your emotional connection with food when you're trying to like shred down. Because I've done that like once in my life, where I actually count calories, put all the calories in like the little MyFitnessPal thing, measure out all the weights of the foods and whatnot. And yeah, it was just like, the more variety I had, in my food, the more annoying it was to like punch it into like MyFitnessPal or whatever. So I would just like get like the bare minimum of like proteins, carbs, and fats in terms of like variety, and just eat that like en masse. And yeah, when you do that and you just do that day in, day out, you lose your like mental relationship of like, oh, I'm looking forward to eating this good ass thing that's like leftovers in the fridge, or I'm looking forward to go eating that burger. Oh, no, you're not. Because you don't feel like having to like put in the calories for like a tomato, a piece of lettuce, some like whatever the type of meat that they're using, like the weight of the bread and whatnot. It's like, I'm good. I'll just make some of my own shit, so it's easier to punch in. And because of that, it's just like everything is just like set on autopilot, more or less.
The first is the simplest. It gives them something to talk about during interviews, and it's publicity for the movie.
Because when you go on the diet of Superman, what does Superman eat?
Chicken, broccoli, rice.
They can say they've been working harder than ever. They've been eating more, and they're going to be even more jacked than they were the last time. The second reason is because they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And by them, I mean the movie industry. They know the average person doesn't know what 1,000 calories of food looks like. Never mind 8,000 calories of healthy food. And you can even fudge the numbers with those crazy epic cheat meal days that kind of just look like normal if slightly decadent meals. I mean, we're not talking about Brian Shaw wood chippering over 23,000 calories in a day.
Yeah.
It's like 2 burgers and some fries, or a large portion of sushi. The average person heard one time 10 years ago that Michael Phelps ate 10,000 calories worth of Subway sandwiches every day to win the Olympics. So why wouldn't The Rock be eating 6,000 calories to play a comic book character? Even assuming he really was eating 6,000 calories a day, the question is still, why? What is he doing that requires him to eat that much? This is where
he has to maintain the character of The Rock at all times.
Cross over into Johnson's workouts. The problem here is that it's hard to know what he actually does in the gym.
I mean, also, maybe he just like actually like working out, like for real. I mean, I like working out, but I don't eat fucking like anywhere near like 6,000 calories a day.
There is a lot of footage of The Rock training, but it's difficult to say whether they're really part of his routine or if it's just something flashy or different for Instagram. If you Google The Rock's workout plan, you'll come across countless breakdowns from official and unofficial sources, going back over a decade. Similar to his diet, it's hard to know what to make of any of these workout plans because, while they may look normal at first glance, they begin to make less sense when you look.
Bro, like, just me watching him do this, like, caricature of The Rock, it just reminds me of, like, it's like a realistic version of, like, a Meat Canyon version of Rock.
Look at the details. For reference, I'm going to use the workout plan Johnson used to get into shape for Black Adam. First, because this information came out fairly recently. Additionally, I think this is the craziest his physique has ever looked.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Because this information came out fairly recently. Additionally, I think this is the craziest his physique has ever looked.
Yeah, this is like crazy to look at, dude. He's like, I don't know, around like 10%-ish of, I don't know, body fat percent, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, but goddamn, that is crazy.
He's as close to his peak size as ever, but
I mean, and plus he's got like the filters going and whatnot, but whatever. I mean, still, that's very like impressive.
Also considerably more defined. Johnson also claimed that this was the hardest undertaking of his career. Around the time that Black Adam came out, Johnson's coach and business partner, Dave Rienzi, posted the plan that they used to prepare for the movie on Instagram. You can see from these breakdowns that Johnson was doing at least 5 major movements for each muscle group, with each movement consisting of 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps.
What is this, chest day? Seated KO fly, all right. Flat dumbbell bench press, so you got a fly, bench press, incline plate loaded bench press with 3-second negative. That just sounds like a normal like rep. Incline Smith. Okay, so it's fly, press, incline press, and some triset of whatever the fuck this is down here. It's like dumbbell fly, a press, and a dip. That's not bad. It's pretty good. I mean, you're doing stuff.
With some lifts getting up into the 20 plus rep range.
20 plus rep range. I mean, that's fair to do that like on a couple sets. I wouldn't do like every set to like 20 reps, but and each body part's different, but like legs, adduction machine. Wait, so abduction. Wait, so is that like the spread one? I always get these confused. Adduction is like the closed one. The abduction is like the spread apart one. Okay, so this is like glutes, the hip thrust, more glutes, leg extension. What is this? A triset of leg press, pulse walking lunges. Okay, whatever. Goblet squats, safety bar squat or barbell. Okay, seated leg curls. Oh, you're doing your boy dirty by putting the hammies last.
We also know that he's training 6 days a week, and this is actually up from what he was doing even in his mid-40s.
Generally train about 5 days a week, and then there's 2 days off. So sometimes there's 2 days off in a row that I take.
This is a level of volume and frequency that is on par with what a lot of top bodybuilders do.
Yeah.
And certainly some of the greats like Dorian Yates have managed to get by with lower rep ranges and less frequency. I don't know exactly what kind of weight Johnson is using for a lot of these movements, but he is a guy who says that 275 pounds for 8 reps on incline bench is not too heavy.
275. I mean, yeah, this is like you're experienced and you do this. It's like, who is your audience? If your audience is like the general population, then they're going to look at this and be like, oh, whoa, that's heavy. I mean, because it is. 275 pounds is freaking heavy. I mean, I do like incline Smith and I can't do this shit, dude.
Because he has a reconstructed shoulder.
Oh, because he had a reconstructed shoulder and he did 275 for a couple reps. Whatever, dude.
So just to recap a bit, Johnson is training as frequently as some of the greatest bodybuilders of all time did in their prime, while eating as much as they did during a bulk without gaining any extra fat, and he's doing this while totally natural in his...
Yeah, that is the fakest news I've ever heard.
40s and 50s. This is where we come to that elephant in the room. Even being generous to Dwayne Johnson, it would be highly improbable that he is natural. Yes, he obviously has good genetics. He's also definitely a hard worker who spends a lot of time in the gym. But no matter how good your genetics are and how hard you work, there are limitations to the human body.
Yeah.
You simply don't peak in your late 40s and early 50s without some kind of assistance.
Yeah.
Especially if you were already in incredible shape to begin with. And by his own admission, he's had numerous injuries over the years.
Oh.
Like the Bionic Man. I've got surgery.
What Dwayne Johnson is trying to get us to believe is that...
Yeah, usually when you do steroids, your muscles become way too strong. Like, stronger than your tendons and ligaments. And so whenever you, like, hurt something, it'll be, like, around your joints. It won't be, like, the muscle itself.
Somehow he's defying basically everyone's understanding of biology and sports science and getting bigger and bigger as he gets older and older. Many people have accused The Rock of using steroids, most notably Joe Rogan, who has called him out multiple times, yet was strangely reluctant to broach the subject when Johnson appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience. We can only guess.
Yeah, bro, I saw that episode, but I did not watch the whole thing. I was like so fucking bored. It was like the most boring. That's like one of the few episodes I just dipped out on. Like, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, The Rock is on there. Let me watch that. But like a lot of other guests, it's like there's like interesting shit to just bullshit about, but this just seemed like I was falling asleep. I was like, this episode's dumb. I'm out.
As to why Joe was unwilling to confront Johnson face to face, but the issue of PEDs is something Dwayne has generally avoided talking about.
Yeah.
One of, if not the only time...
It's not a problem until it's a problem. Other than that, just ignore it.
Times he has spoken on the issue was during an interview from 2009, in which he admitted that he and his friends experimented with steroids in their late teens when they were football players. In my opinion, the question of whether or not The Rock is using steroids is actually less interesting than the question of could he even admit he was if he wanted to. We know
No, I don't think so. I don't think he could admit it because that's like the character of The Rock coming clean. Because the character of The Rock is like a Superman type character. He's like a Boy Scout. He can't do anything wrong. And a lot of the times, people view steroids as like the bad guy. You do steroids, you're bad. Yeah. And the brand of The Rock cannot have like anything like on there like that. So no.
that Hollywood has kept the lid on the PED issue for a long time, and there are obvious reasons why. Most of the roles that these actors are doing insane transformations for are comic book movies, and their audiences are, at least in large part, children. The optics aren't great if the actor playing the hero in your $300 million baby movie admits that they're taking steroids. I think it's inevitable that this wall will start breaking down.
But here's the thing. Steroids is generally frowned upon when it comes to competitive integrity of sports. And the general consensus is that don't do steroids because it's unfair. Now, when it comes to movies, who gives a shit of like who does steroids and whatnot? Like, it's a movie. There's no competitive integrity going on. Like, there's like, you're not versing anybody. It's not like, oh, because The Rock was like 300 pounds in Black Adam, that completely trounces Thor, the Thor movie, where Chris Hemsworth was only like, ooh, 250. So Black Adam is automatically the better movie because The Rock was bigger. Like, no, that's not how that works. I don't know. It's like, and also, nobody really like another thing is that nobody really likes a fake natty. Like, all these people claiming natural and just using steroids behind the scenes, it's not a good look for them.
At some point, though, when so many of the people going through these superhero body transformations are increasingly in their 40s and even 50s, they can't avoid the issue forever. We've seen a small number of actors, such as Alan Ritchson, admitting to using TRT to achieve the body he had in Jack Reacher. He's also gotten even bigger for season 2, so you can come to your own conclusions.
Oh, dang. Look at the fucking shoulders on this man. God damn. They are fucking like boulders. They are circles, damn near.
Whether that's all he's taking, though. As it becomes more and more normalized to manipulate your hormone levels like this, I think it's just a matter of time before these aging stars begin to come out and admit to using HRT.
Because they saw the Richardson dude say, I did TRT. It'll be like, he set the precedent, so I can come out and say, oh, I did TRT in this movie and that movie and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
For The Rock, I think it's a bit more complicated. There was probably a window for him, sometime
for his role in the Fate of the Furious. Wait, this is a movie title? The Fate of the Furious. They literally just took the S out. They took it out and made it an E. The Fate of the Furious. He added 22 pounds to his already bulky body to be the meanest and strongest Hobbs yet. Oh my God. That's crazy.
To 10 years ago, where he could have come out and said that he was starting some form of HRT as he was getting older. And I honestly doubt anyone would have really cared. However, he's waited so long that he's kind of painted himself into a corner here.
Yeah.
So much of Johnson's brand has become about hard work. He calls himself the hardest worker in the room.
We got a saying, which is you want to be the hardest worker in the room, but you also want to be the smartest worker.
A term which has even made it into...
Yeah. And when you're the smartest worker in the room, it's easier to work hard when you're on steroids.
To his Project Rock apparel. As I said earlier, he obviously does work hard. You can't look the way he does without working hard and being extremely dedicated.
Yeah.
But you also can't look like The Rock for a number of other reasons. He's incredibly wealthy. He has access to resources you couldn't dream of that make things much easier for him.
I generally set up a gym, a private gym, rent out the warehouse, rent the equipment, ship the equipment. just so by the time I get into the location and I'm ready to work, it's a turnkey operation.
Personally, I think that's why he tries to put forward such a Spartan image when it comes to things like his diet and workouts. It is to convince people that they can achieve it too if they just work hard enough. You just have to get it.
I mean, people like should obviously like try to find like at least some hour in their day to like go to the gym or whatever. I mean, they probably should, but they can't expect to get the same results as like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That's obviously like way far out there.
At 3:30 a.m., lace up your Project Rock shoes, have a Zoe energy drink, and step into the Iron Paradise. For The Rock to admit he's been enhanced or to say he's going to start taking something now would kind of be a betrayal to the people who have bought into his message. It does make me wonder, though. You can make the argument that Johnson has been a net positive, regardless of whether you believe he's natty or not. His fault.
The net positive. I mean, weren't all those what do you call it? Wasn't like all those like old wrestlers? I mean, he was like an old wrestler. Didn't a lot of the things they say, like the Hulk Hogan saying, like, eat your, what was the saying? Eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and like say something else, and like you'll have a good life, or whatever the fuck he said. Like, it's fine to have sayings and shit like that, but it's like, whenever you look like 280 pounds of like just raw beef, it's like, there's no way you're natural, bro. It's like, you can't just say your prayers, eat your vegetables, and go to the gym and hope to God that you're going to like end up looking like you someday. It's like, there's no chance.
Philosophy has inspired potentially millions of people to improve their health and fitness. But it is also a double-edged sword to tell people that they can do anything if they just work hard enough. You can't. It also takes genetics, innate talent, and sometimes just sheer luck. When people run up against the wall of reality, they often end up discouraged or feel like a failure because they didn't quote-unquote work hard enough. I'm not saying The Rock specifically is responsible for everyone's insecurities or frustrations, and he's not as bad as someone like Chris Hemsworth who...
Wait, really? Chris Hemsworth, Center Fitness app bought by Mark Bezos, High Post. Digital platform to merge with equipment maker Inspire. Combined company value over $200 million, including debt. What do you do?
Who actually sold a fitness app based on his physique.
Oh, Jesus.
But it's still part of a systemic issue.
Oh, that's a fucking meme. Like, who's... I mean, I guess normal people are like way more gullible. Like, because I've been working out for like a while, like on and off. And I don't know. I can just spot the bullshit from a mile away. So, I mean, this is like clear and transparent to me, but I guess to like someone that's never like that has never really worked out, or maybe they really like the Rock movies, yeah, they would be more easily I don't know, gullible, or have the sheet pulled over their eyes with like some of the bullshit that these actors engage in.
Plaguing the fitness industry, social media, and the entertainment industry, and he does have a part in that. Even if you genuinely believe that Johnson is natural, he's still cultivating an image that doesn't represent reality.
Yeah.
One that gets harder and harder to believe with each passing year. If nothing else, it makes you wonder how long he can keep this up. I mean, let's look 10 years into the future. Is he going to be doing this in his 60s? Is he going to be doing it in his 70s? How much will he weigh by then? 400 pounds? How many calories will he be eating? 9,000 or 10,000? Will he claim he's working out 8 days a week like Hulk Hogan, saying he wrestled 400 days in a year? And at what point does the general population's appetite for this dwindle? When do they go, okay, Dwayne, enough is enough?
It better be sometime soon, because he can't maintain that shit. That's for damn sure.
I don't know. As I said at the beginning, Dwayne Johnson is one of the biggest figures in all of modern pop culture. He's a juggernaut, and it's almost unfathomable to think that he will stop or even slow down anytime soon. Realistically, how could he stop if he even wanted to? What is the off-ramp for this perpetual cycle of constantly trying to one-up himself or find those higher gears? As much as he's setting these unrealistic standards, he's also being held to them, or more accurately, being made to one-up them.
The Rock didn't use any muscle padding for Black Adam. I believe it. I 100% believe it. No muscle padding. That is all him.
So I asked them to remove the muscle padding. Plus also I was putting in a lot of work. I wanted to transform my body for the role.
He's now stuck in this feedback loop where his career is based on his physique.
Oh, yeah. So he's probably surrounding himself with a bunch of yes men. Oh.
And his physique has to keep getting bigger to sustain it. How many franchises is he a part of? How many brands is he associated with or outright owns? It all comes back to his godlike physique and his ability to sustain this, if not increasingly up the ante. And this isn't me trying to say, oh, poor Dwayne Johnson, the billionaire movie star, he can't stop being jacked. But the truth is, as impactful as Johnson is, he's also somewhat a victim of his own success. As I've said in regards to liver,
I think the character of The Rock can't stop being jacked, but maybe Dwayne Johnson, the person, wants to just stop being jacked and like just tone it down. I mean, because I'm not in his body. I don't know what he's feeling every day. Maybe he's sick and tired of it and he doesn't want to do it anymore. I don't know. But if Dwayne Johnson like tones it down, The Rock subsequently has to tone it down, and like that's not on brand.
King, it's easy to single out one person and criticize him, and there are certainly valid reasons to criticize The Rock. But the truth is, these industries and communities are much bigger than any one person. It illustrates how even someone as big and famous as Dwayne Johnson is still under pressure to maintain an impossible standard. When you think about it like that, you start to question how anyone can avoid feeling that kind of pressure. I think this is especially true of young people who have rightly come to believe that everyone in the fitness industry is lying about being natural. And honestly, they probably are. It's harder now than ever to know who is natural and who is not. You have to take everything everyone says with a grain of salt and assume they are lying to you for some financial gain.
Yeah, it's like the reverse of like the justice system. It's like supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. In the fitness industry, it's you're on steroids until proven natty. Oh man, that's so funny, dude.
And in that light, you can easily see how somebody could become disillusioned with the idea that anyone they see on social media is natural, and then come to the conclusion that they themselves need to start taking steroids if they want to make any progress. To me, that is the biggest issue with the fitness industry and entertainment industry as a whole. It's usually the most insecure and impressionable people who are being deceived. Until there is total transparency from everyone involved.
I mean, dude, when I was a little kid, I was super impressionable by all of these people that you mentioned in the video. 100%. I mean, thankfully that since I've been doing it for like, I don't know, a couple years, I'm still like, I have some sort of like grounded, like image I have for myself or whatever. It's not like crazy. It's just like, I look like I work out sometimes. It doesn't have to be, I gotta be a fucking 300-pound muscle meatball. Just look like a normal dude that just works out a little bit.
This problem will never go away. This video was just something a little bit different. Sometimes I have an idea or thought that tumbles around in my mind for a while and I want to talk about it without...
Again, watching him do this like whole like little picture of like caricature of The Rock, it's like it's uneasy because of like the shape.
Making a crazy in-depth video. I would like to make more of these shorter one-off style videos in the future when the mood strikes me or I have an idea that has been lingering in the back of my mind for a while. So look forward to those, I guess. As always, I want to thank you for watching the video as well as liking, commenting, and subscribing. And a special thank you to my supporters on Patreon who help make these videos possible. Thank you. Squirt, Poncho Villa, Jonas Namenson, Rusty Shackelford, Jackson, Fightback CBD, Mike Roballs, Bone CK, Scott Richmond.
Dang. Bro, this is a good ass video, dude. I like it. I'm a fan. Yeah, The Rock ain't natty. You gotta be like living under a rock to think that The Rock is natty. I mean, shit, man. But I mean, I don't know. It's hard to quantify like all of the good stuff that has probably emanated from him. I mean, because he's like got his businesses and whatnot. I mean, it's like, I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah. I mean, this is a fantastic video, and it was well thought out. This was awesome. I love these like little conversation pieces, dude. I hope you make like some more of these, or yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.